All right, so let's begin. Now we are ready to fly, inshallah. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us in time. And inshallah, in today's presentation, we will not talk about the stress theory and what happens with the stress and whatnot. We'll just focus on the stress stories and about the people. We'll talk about the people, how they have been able to come out of a stress, inshallah. So as you come along, as we move, sail through the presentation, you will see some of them real life examples. By the way, all are from the real coaching experience. And and inshallah, you will at the end of the presentation, you will have something to take along. So let's move. All right. So Omer bhai and Vasila, you can manage the waiting room as well and disable the waiting room. All right, let's move on. So please keep your phones at a distance. Emergencies are understandable, but as long as you're here in the presentation, make sure that you're not using your phone because human minds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in such a way that they can focus on this or this, not two things simultaneously, consciously. Subconsciously, we can do a lot of things, but simultaneously, consciously, we can do only one thing. So this is my sincere, humble, and strong suggestion that you keep the phones away. Language, inshallah, will be speaking in English, and but I understand Urdu and I understand partly Arabic as well. So you can understand, you can ask questions if you have any in any of the language. I would rather prefer to speak in English because some of the participants that we have, they speak only English. Question and answers? Yes. If you have any question, please feel free to write a question in the chat window. I may not be able to read, but I would request we have participants, Brother Omer and Brother Vasula. They can open the mic and they can read out a question in case they have a question. All right, and I sincerely, strongly, and humbly request that you make as much as notes possible because you'll be able to share the knowledge. Because sharing the information makes the information reinforced and concrete. Information not shared, it has wings and it flies away. Within 48 hours, it will be as if you never attended the workshop. So let's move on after the ground rules. So a little bit about the agenda. So first we'll talk a little bit about the stress, what it is all about. Not much of the technical details, but just on the higher surface. And then we'll talk about the coaching real life stories of some people who have been able to manage their stress. And then we'll also look at the root causes, and then finally the way forward. So inshallah, this program will last for almost like 45 to 50 minutes, or maybe a little lesser, so that we have some question answers, room for some questions and answers. All right, so let's move on. So what stress is all about? So if you go for the scientific definition, stress is like force per square meter per square inch of an area. But let's come to the human definition. So what it is? What it is? Some kind of concern that we have in our heads, some tension, some worries that we have about a situation or about multiple situations. Every one of us, we play multiple roles in our lives, be it a professional, be it a homemaker, or a father, mother, or sibling, or son, daughter, and all of many other roles. When we are driving out, we play the role of a driver. So traffic noise, traffic congestion, and all that, and many things are running in our head, and they load on top of each other, one on the top of the other, and so on and so forth. So one on top of the other. So actually, these are not separately in their own boxes, but they accumulate on top of each other. And this is where we reach a stage where we are not able to handle anymore. And then sometimes we explode, sometimes we break down, or anything similar happens. So why does it happen? Because we have reached the limit. So and you can witness this in your own lives as well. So coming back to the point. So what is stress? Stress is something good as well. Good is in the sense that it helps you deal with the situation. Because if the stress level is lower, then we don't really feel motivated to handle the situation. We don't really get pumped up to be able to handle the situation effectively. So stress is in a way, stress is positive because it makes us work, it makes us move forward, and so on and so forth. But continuously higher levels of stress, this is where it causes problem. So, Verba, if you can mute the mic, which are of all the participants, except me, please don't mute me. All right. So coming back to the point, so stress is positive, but when stress becomes too high, and when stress becomes or high stress prolongs for a certain amount of time, this is where we start feeling burnt out, or this is where we start feeling that something is wrong, and something is getting out of control, and we are not able to get the satisfaction of tranquility and coolness in our lives. Or sometimes life becomes overwhelming for people. All right. So having said this, a little bit about the stress, let's move on. Let me just look at the chat window. All right, please. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Go on. Let's go on. So let's come to the first example, which is Fatma. All by the name, by the way, all names are anonymous because names have been changed to keep the anonymity of the person, to keep the confidentiality, but rest of the data is real life. So Fatma was a software developer, and she worked extra hours and also over the weekends. Extra hours not only during the working days but also over the weekends. But her work never finished, and she was constantly missing deadlines one after the other. Her manager was unhappy because the manager was seeing that Fatma was not able to meet the deadlines, and she was not able to fulfill her roles. On the personal life side, Fatma had some challenges, medical challenges, health challenges, and she was not even able to attend her appointments at the hospital. So life was getting out of control for Fatma. And she was getting frustrated because she also wanted to complete her PMB, and she was not getting enough time to complete her PMB. So this was all the data about Fatma. All right. So one in initial stages, or in the first shot, I'll give you the data of all these five individuals, and then we'll visit them individually to see what they did. So let's go to the next gentleman. His name is Abu Rayyan. Again, this is an imaginary name. So what was the situation with Abu Rayyan? Abu Rayyan came to me and he said, Nayyar, please help me move my team. Means help me get another suitable placement in any one of the other teams. I said, why? What happened? He said, because my team is toxic, and I really cannot work with them. Everything, whenever I say something, they see that I am complaining, and I see them like enemies. Whenever I bring some initiative, they turn it down. And I have this is Abu Rayyan telling all these details to me. And he said he also recently developed a back pain, a neck pain, and because of the ongoing stress that he has been experiencing. And Abu Rayyan was not able to see any future in his team, and really completely sick and fed up with his team. So this was Abu Rayyan and symptoms of Abu Rayyan. Let's go to the third one. Suleiman, the brand manager. So Suleiman was a very humble young man of 27 years, and very energetic as well, and really wanted to do something good in his life. Really wanted to make his brand shine and fly like anything. But Suleiman had some challenges, had some issues. Suleiman used to get distracted very easily. Suleiman's morning started with a cup of coffee, and during the day he would take at least 4 or 5 cups of coffees in most of the days. And Suleiman was not focused, getting distracted very easily. So anything comes up and Suleiman diverts and starts working in that area. And this was not leading him anywhere. And Suleiman was also not able to finish his work in time. And his manager was also concerned about Suleiman's progress. Another thing that I noticed with Suleiman, that when we set up the meetings in the morning means like 9 or 9:30, Suleiman was finding it difficult to show up, and he was getting late and frequently rescheduled the meetings. So then I asked Suleiman, really, what's really going on here? And Suleiman says that it's one of the most difficult task for him to wake up in the morning, and he preferred to meet later in the day, in the afternoon or even in the evening. So we started meeting later in the day. Sometimes once I met Suleiman outside in a cafe in the evening after Isha prayers. So Suleiman was fine meeting in the evening, but not in the morning. So this was Suleiman's data. Let's go to the next one. Saif. Let's meet Saifullah, the burned out team lead. So Saifullah was leading a team of 13 or 14 people in a company. Saifullah used to work 12 to 14 hours every day. He would come early in the morning, dropping his children at school, and then come straight to work. So I have seen Saifullah reaching as early as sometimes around 7. And Saifullah used to work till sometimes 8 p.m. and so on and so forth. And even then, he was spending so much time at work, he was not able to finish his work. A lot of interactions taking place during the working hours. Sometimes the development manager would come to Saifullah and ask for something. Sometimes the business developer, sometimes the business analyst, or different people interacting with Saifullah and eating up a lot of his time. So Saifullah also was facing a tremendous challenge in being able to contain his work, and his stress level was higher. Saifullah was not able to spend any time with his family. No effective or productive or quality time that you may call with his family. So let's go to the next one. And this is our last one. Abdullah, the admin manager who wanted to become a software engineer or software developer, or somehow wanted to become associated with the software industry. All right, so Abdullah's information was very interesting. Abdullah held a degree in farming, and then he joined this existing company in a non-technical capacity, which is like administrative job, and he was a manager in this company. Then Abdullah also started doing his bachelor's in IT in one of the universities in the evening. So Abdullah would leave the work a little earlier, like 3:30 or 4 p.m., then go to his university, attend his classes, and then come back home around 9, and then have his dinner and some family time. And then Abdullah would watch YouTube videos for 2 to 3 hours every day. So this was Abdullah's data. And Abdullah reached out to me and he says, Nayyar, my stress level is very high. So I would like to do something about this. And then we sat together, maybe 2 to 3 meetings for Abdullah. And Abdullah was fine. He was on his own after that. So these were the 5 different individuals having different data or different circumstances. And based on these circumstances, their stress level was high. And as I mentioned, there were a couple of indicators. They were not able to manage their roles well, and so on and so forth. All right. So now I would like you to ask, what did you notice common in all examples? You can open your mic and speak up. You can write in the chat window. What did you find common in all of these examples? Anyone? Anyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome to speak. All right. All right. So Saeed Abrar, thank you so much for this. Is stress. Of course, it is a stress. We are talking about stress. Yes. Little or no time for family. Rania, thank you so much. Yes. Multitasking. Obed, thank you. Multitasking. All right. Asra, none of them seem to have created stress. All right. Stress and anxiety can't focus. Osvila. All right. Or sleep. Asra says or sleep. All right. Okay. So although we are focusing on different examples, some of the examples you may not find relevant directly, but I'm pretty sure that you will find some substance which may be applicable in your case. Lack of time. All right. Time management. Okay. Then says time management. All right. Okay. Rafiq. All right. Blame and circumstances. Wow. Very interesting. Wow. I think we are going to address this very soon. So please stay in touch. Stay tuned, and inshallah, you're going to see something very interesting. All right. So Jahangir says doing something that is not interested to them. Maybe yes, possibly, and possibly not, because we don't have enough data available to make sure that whether they were really interested or not. All right. So Rafiq says lack of time. All right. There was one thing else in common. Well, Asraf says lack of planning. One thing else, and then we'll move on. They were not able to finish finish their work in time, although they were exerting a lot of efforts, sometimes burning their weekends as well, sometimes burning their midnight oil, and even then slipping or missing their deadlines and not being able to finish their work in time. Right? So this was one thing which is common to all these people. All right, so let's move on. So I would like to find out at this stage, what are your stress factors? Anything that you may like to write here, may like to speak about. So what are your stress factors? I'll just read out to them rather than type over here. All right, unfocused. All right, unfocused. All right, thank you so much for being upfront and honest about this. All right, time management. Right, okay. People sometimes they approach and they say we would like to be better in time management. I say, all right, what we cannot manage time because we cannot control the clock. We cannot stop the time. So that means we cannot manage the time. So what we can do about time management? Generally speaking, when people say time management, they are primarily talking about their self-management or personal organization. And we'll talk a little bit about this. All right, let's come back to our discussion. So what were the stress factors? Focus. And focus means that you want to focus. Guys, another thing that I would like to mention over here, sometimes we talk about something that we really do not want. And we continue to talk about this. We cannot reach the solution unless we start talking and seeing something that we want. So guys, always stay future focused. So this is past, and this is something that we do not want. Let's talk about something that we want. Right? And let's start build small little steps so that we can move towards our desired picture of self-organization or focus or quietness, calmness, tranquility, or whatever. All right. So Osma says behavior of other people. All right. This is again something that we are going to address shortly. So stay tuned. Others rude behavior, in-laws. All right, Rania, thank you so much for bringing this up. All right, Rafiq says too many things seeking attention. All right, see, this is life. This is how we are here in this world, because we live not in the islands. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He would have created millions and billions of islands and made each of us an owner of an island and made us live in that island all alone, all by ourselves. Well, but this was Allah's not this was not His intention. He created us in communities, in families, and made us live together because this is how we are supposed to live, and this is how we build ourselves on with interdependence, and this is what we will all be asked about. So may Allah help us become successful in the day of judgment, inshallah. Let's move on. So we have talked about a lot of stress factors. Different people have come up with their own stress factors, and let's talk about them a little further. All right. So some of the root causes, of course, there are some stress factors that you have mentioned, but let me also mention a couple of root causes which came from the previous workshop participants. So higher expectations from ourselves and others. Higher expectations, as you mentioned, some people said in-laws, proper expectations from other people, in-laws, rude behavior from other people, and so on and so forth. Time management, focus. I would rather rephrase this to a disorganized lifestyle. Unclear and non-assertive communication means sometimes we are not direct in our conversation. Sometimes we don't talk about what do we want. Sometimes we talk indirectly and we are not able to convey our what do we mean really. Lack of focus and tendency to jump from one task to the other. Someone says multitasking. Multitasking is one of the killing factors which is killing people's focus and which is most influential factor for not letting people finish their work in time because they want to focus on multitasking. So actually, we are not multitasking at any point in time. We are doing time slicing or time sharing, means focus on one task, then move to the second one, then move to the third one, and then come back to the first one. So moving back and forth between the tasks makes us lose our focus. And at the end, we are not able to achieve any three of them. Assuming excessive responsibility, you will see this in case of Fatma. This was burning her weekends and so on and so forth. So, and that unwise prioritization matrix means we don't know what we are focusing on. We don't know what is first things first, as Stephen Covey says, and what we should not be doing. at any point in time. So these are a couple of more root causes which create our level of stress, and our glass of water becomes full and cannot contain any more. Then we start spilling out. All right. So what is the fundamental concept? So remember, if you can just mute the participants who are not speaking. So what is the fundamental concept over here? It is important to understand that we cannot control the circumstances. You cannot control the mind of other people. You cannot control the words of the other people. You cannot control the behaviors and so on and so forth. But what you can control instead, you can control your thoughts, your own thoughts. And you can control the meanings that you derive from your thoughts. You can control the inferences and so many other things that you can make meaning from based on what you think. So see this, our thoughts come first. The thought comes first. The thoughts give rise to our feelings. Our feeling give rise to our emotions, because for emotions and then finally actions. So you can see this connection. So if you're able to change our thoughts, which is the first thing out of these four, if you're able to change our thoughts, that means we can change our feelings. If you're able to change our feelings, that means half of the job is done, because then we can change our emotions and we can change, or we can control on our actions, have a greater self-restraint, or whatever you may call it. So all these four things are interrelated, right? So let's come back to the text over here. What it says: we also have control upon our thoughts and the way we feel and create meaning from the circumstances, right? So the picture that I'm going to show you in a few seconds, that will make more meaning, and inshallah I'll explain you the picture, how to interpret that. All right, so let's go to this choice map. So this choice map comes from a book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life, and written by Dr. Marilee Adams. And this is a fundamental concept that Dr. Marilee Adams has introduced. And I really liked this concept. Not only liked, but I loved this concept, and I preached this concept, which is called the choice map. So let me explain you how this works. So imagine at this start button, this is you. You have some feelings, some thoughts, and some circumstances over here, and anything that impacts you. So this is you, and you are here on the start button. Now you have two choices over here. One is called reaction, which is instant, which is without any thought processing. It's just like click of a second. So this is called reaction, and this is where we start walking, or rather running, on the judger mindset. Here we judge the people. So the first question that we ask ourselves: whose fault is this? Who broke the glass? Or who did that? And so on and so forth. These are all judger questions. Judger questions will take you to the judger pit. So this is judger pit, which is somehow not seen here in this map. But in judger mindset, we ask questions like this: why am I such a failure? Whose fault is this? As I mentioned earlier, why they are so ununderstanding, why they don't understand this concept, why bother at all? If you're not doing it, I will not do that either. I will not bother. So I'll just do my part, and rest of the world, they go to hell. I really don't care. And things like that. All these are judger mindset questions and statements. Let's look at the learner side. So learner, when you see the word choose, that means this is a chosen response. It is not a reaction, it is a response. Response is thoughtful. That means response is formulated or formed after some thought processing has taken place inside our head. And by the way, what happens that in case of a stress, let me tell you that this area is called prefrontal lobe. And if the stress level is high, this shuts down. And there is a higher tendency that we will follow the judger path rather than the learner path. So it is important, critically important, that at any point in time, we make ourselves, or we train ourselves in such a manner that our prefrontal lobe continues to work, and we follow the learner path rather than the judger path. And of course, we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that who enables us to be on the learner side rather than falling on the judger side. So let's come to the learner side, which is the chosen response. So what is the response? We ask again some set of questions. So what happened means what is the situation? What are the facts over here? What do I want for myself and for the other person or for the other people? What is the learning? Means based on whatever has happened, what is the learning that I can learn? One of the most important questions is what assumptions am I making? All right. So if I had a trouble with my manager or with one of my team members or with my spouse or with my one of my siblings or my children, let's suppose at all levels, ask yourself, what assumptions am I making? So what are the facts? What the other person is thinking about the situation? Am I being responsible? Means do I have any stake? Do I have a stake in this situation? Am I a stakeholder? What are the choices? And so on and so forth. What is the best possible course of action now? All these are different kind of questions that a person can ask himself to be able to make a meaningful and informed decision. All right. So having said this, I hope this is clear. This is something that I sincerely recommend that you somehow you dissolve in water, you drink the water, or you make a printout. I have seen people printing this out and hanging on, pasting this somewhere, maybe on their refrigerator or some other place where they can see this over and over again and keep learning. So learner mindset is the one which keeps exploring learning, and all these questions help you develop the learning mindset. It is it is certainly possible that any one of us may fall in the judger mindset. And as a matter of fact, even everyone, I include myself, that sometimes we fall in the judger mindset. But it is our conscious mindset and continuous training on and again that helps us bring back to the learner mindset. And that's where you see the switching lane. You see the switching lane over here? This is where the realization, the conscious realization comes up, and it helps us move into the learner mindset again, leaving the judger behind. All right, so there's something on the chat window. Give me a second. Repeat the book. All right. So Rafiq said the book name is Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Dr. Marilee Adams. Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Dr. Marilee Adams. All right. This book, by the way, you don't have to buy the book to be able to get this choice map. Just type on Google choice map and it will show you a good image of the choice map. And if you want, if you're part of our alumni group, I can share, inshallah, the choice map in the alumni group once the meeting is over. And inshallah, you can print this out and have further explorations. Let's move on. All right, just a minute. There's someone else. All right. Okay. So let's move on, guys. Let's look at these individuals. So just to recap, Fatma was the hardworking developer. She was working, burning her weekends, but even then not able to finish her jobs. Abu Rayyan working with a toxic team. Suleiman, the brand manager who was drinking too much of coffee and not able to come earlier at office. And Saifullah was the burnt out team leader, having 13 to 14 people in his team and not able to spend any family time and so on and so forth. And Abdullah was the guy who was working as an administration manager in a company who had a degree in farming and now attending bachelor's in the IT and wanting to shift to the IT career. So these were the 5 people that we talked about. This was just a recap. Let's see what these individuals did. All right, so what Fatma did. So Fatma and I associated in coaching engagement for almost like maybe 6 months or maybe 8 months. I don't remember exactly because it was maybe in 2022 or maybe more than a year back or maybe 2021, maybe. All right. So what Fatma did, she learned to be assertive, learned to say no politely. So when Fatma started saying no to her team members, one of the team members approached her and she said, Fatma, I have developed a plan. All right. Okay. So Fatma said that I have developed a plan. Fatma's colleague said to her that I have planned to go to Medina over the weekend, and I'll not be able to support this software release over the weekend. Can you please do that for me? In the initial days before Fatma engaged in coaching, Fatma would say yes, and she would politely work on the weekend and get things done for her colleagues and so on and so forth. But when this time she said very politely, "Oh no, dear, I'm really tied up over the weekend. Can you please ask someone else? If someone else can do this for you, means giving you a backup while you are away on the weekend." So when Fatma started saying no to her colleagues politely, and by the way, wherever she was able to help, she would help. But whenever her schedule did not allow, she would say no. She started counting the number of no she would say in a week. And next week, Fatma would come excitingly and said that I was able to say politely no to one, two, or three or four people, and so on and so forth. Gradually, being able to say no started Fatma or enabled Fatma finish her work in time during office hours, and then she was able to attend her medical appointments, and she was able also to give family some quality time as well as focus on her certification as well. Another thing that Fatma did was creating slots in her calendar for like Fatma has decided that she would spend some time over the weekend for her PRP. So Fatma scheduled some early morning hours on Fridays and Saturdays to be able to study or for PMP. All right. Okay. So let's move on. Let's go to the next one. Who was the next one? Abu Rayyan. So what Abu Rayyan did? Abu Rayyan did something very interesting. So he started maintaining to-do lists every day, and every day would come and see what to do and what not to do. He started coming to work earlier. And then how did he manage to do that? By sleeping previous night earlier. Another gentleman that I happened to coach sometimes back, many years back, he said that he would like his day to be structured. Then I asked him that what a structured day looks like. Tell me what is the picture of your structured day. He said the structured day would look like I woke up in the morning, prayed Fajr, then spent some time with the children, do the breakfast, have the breakfast, then get ready for the work, and then leave home maximum by 7:30 to be able to reach at workplace by 8 a.m. And then work straight 8 hours till 4 p.m. and then finish the work and then come back home by 4:30 and then able to spend some time with his family and have some chai and tea together, and to be able to spend some time with his children's homework and then sleep early. So he created a picture of his structured day the way it looked like. So guys, let me tell you one more thing over here. From my coaching experience or working with people, I learned that whoever have had a clear picture of their day, they had a higher probability to make that happen, whatever they envisioned, then as compared to the people who did not have the picture clear. So let's come back to this example where the person wanted to have a clear, structured day. So when this guy started wanting to have the clear day, he started building his previous night's routine in a structured way, like finishing off his tasks and chores to be able to sleep early, to be able to get up at Fajr early, so that he does not sleep after Fajr, and spend some quality time with his children before they go to school and before he goes to work. So a structured day is not possible unless you have a structured night, because night comes earlier. Whether you take Islamic system or the other calendar system, the day comes later, the night falls first. So if our nights are structured, our days have a higher probability of getting structured. All right. So then when Abu Rayyan started coming to work early, he started taking advantage of peaceful times in the morning. Now, one more thing that I would like to mention over here, in Abu Rayyan's case, that Abu Rayyan, he is also and all these details are not mentioned over here, that in Abu Rayyan's case, he also started focusing on his long-term goals. So he wanted to, because he came from an industry where he wanted to have his own individual identity. So what Abu Rayyan created? He created his YouTube channel and he started developing small YouTube videos for people who wanted to come to that industry. I don't want to name the industry because I want to keep this anonymous as much as possible. And then then he started posting some YouTube videos in his own native language, and gradually it gave a lot of confidence to him. He started building his interest and started getting energized from something that he really loved and liked, and started doing it over and over again. That energy that he was deriving from his YouTube experience of creating videos, he was able to use that energy in his workplace. So gradually, how it started building, it's very interesting. This energy started spreading across. Abu Rayyan, uh, started focusing on this YouTube business, not business really, but creating videos whenever he was free. He was able to do his exercise, and not only alone, I saw at least two more people going to exercise in the same gym that Abu Rayyan joined, because he started sleeping early in the night and being able to manage his mornings better than before. Now, when these two members started joining him, excuse me, the team started getting closer. And the same toxic team that Abu Rayyan wanted to fly away from, because he came to me and he wanted to change the team. The same toxic team, Abu Rayyan is still in this team. 4 years have gone by, and mashallah, he is still happy in this team. So that's an incredible story of Abu Rayyan, who changed himself and started adjusting himself better in the same workplace and in a better situation. Interestingly, the next year, Abu Rayyan was promoted to have the manager's position. All right, so let's go to the next story. Next story is Suleiman. Suleiman, the guy who was the brand manager. So Suleiman was a guy who really wanted to make a difference. So I mentioned to him a story of a gentleman who comes from a very noble Saudi family, and a CEO of a very large organization, which is in producing animal feed. So one of the largest organizations in the kingdom. So I happened to meet this gentleman. So in my meeting, when I asked him a couple of questions, it was like an interview with him. He mentioned something very interesting. He said that over a period of time, he has learned to keep all his days constant. Means constant in the sense that he would sleep at the same time, he would wake up at the same time, and manage his days in the same way. So he said, let's assume that his name is Muhammad. So Mr. Muhammad decided this routine years and years ago. And he said that for him, the weekend nights are the same as weekdays. So when I related this example to Suleiman realized, and he started doing the same, and started improving his energy during the day. So I recommend you that you go to the web. Wasila, if you can go to the web and do this and post this link. HBR, Harvard Business Review, published an article many years ago, probably maybe 8 or 9 years ago, which the title says, "Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time." So in this Harvard Business Review, they talked about a couple of things, which is managing your rituals. What do you do? How you manage your routines, then organize yourself, and then a couple of other things. And spirituality. They call it spirituality when you're able to connect your work meaningfully to your longer term visions in your life. So manage your energy, not your time. It is Harvard Business Review article. I sincerely recommend that you read this article. All right, Wasila, thank you so much for being here. All right, so what Suleiman did, let's come back to Suleiman. So Suleiman started maintaining healthy life schedule. And then Suleiman also started maintaining to-do things. So once I asked Suleiman, tell me, Suleiman, how do you list down your things? Now in Suleiman's, when we went through together, it was all like big directives, initiatives that he had written in his staff. Suleiman, what are you doing specifically today in your specific day today? Then Suleiman came up with a couple of things. Let me just look out at my watch. It's 1:42. Already we have got another like 80 minutes to go. So Suleiman came up with some specific tasks. And then I asked him, Suleiman, will it help you if you list down these tasks separately? And Suleiman said yes. And Suleiman started doing it. And then later, after a few weeks, we met again, and Suleiman said, this thing means writing a smaller task in his notebook helped him tremendously in developing the clarity on what to do and what not to do. So Suleiman started writing the tasks on a smaller scale. And then Suleiman also learned to ask powerful questions. So this is what Suleiman did. And this is what brought Suleiman's stress level lower than before. All right, let's go to the next example. So what is the next example? What Saifullah did? Created a list of roles and responsibilities. So Saifullah was meeting in his workplace at least 8 or 9 different people on a typical day. So once he started defining his roles and responsibilities, the next exercise that we together carried out, all right, Saifullah, tell me, how much time do you spend with each of these roles? When Saifullah calculated the number of hours that he was spending with each of these roles, he realized that he was spending very less time in the actual role that has been given to him by his company. So Saifullah ended up in spending a lot of time in other roles, except his role. With this realization, Saifullah was able to say no to some of the other roles and reduce time over there to be able to effectively spend time in his actual role. All right. So kill some of the extra load as you can see. And Saifullah again become assertive. Guys, let me tell you something over here. Becoming assertive does not mean that you start saying no and become rude to everyone around. Becoming assertive means that you start saying no politely. And more than anyone else, guys, become assertive to yourself. I repeat my words, become assertive to yourself means start saying no to your distractions, no to your cell phones. I have seen people destroying their careers, their lives, personal lives, just by having too much time spent with the devices they love. These devices, they are disastrous. Guys, first of all, start saying no to these devices before you start saying no to people. All right, let's go to the last example, what Abdullah did. So Abdullah I asked him a question. Abdullah, tell me, imagine you're 95 years old and it's one fine, wonderful evening. And in this evening, you have your daughters and sons and maybe granddaughters, grandsons, and one of the great granddaughters, her name is Sarah, and she comes to you and she asks you a question like this, that dear grandfather, it's a beautiful evening, everyone is around, we are enjoying each and every moment here. What would you like to tell us from your life that you consider the biggest accomplishment so that everyone feels inspired and motivated? So I asked this question to Abdullah, and Abdullah was stunned. Abdullah said, I never ever thought about this. And this question alone was transformation for Abdullah. Abdullah started watching useful videos on YouTube rather than watching haphazard content. I asked Abdullah, why do you watch all this content? Abdullah says, by spending something. By the way, let me come back. Someone in the chat window wrote something that maybe he was not interested. So yes, this data says that Abdullah, the work that he was doing, he was not interested. So thank you very much for highlighting this. It did not occur to my mind. So thank you again for this. All right. So Abdullah started watching the content which was related to entrepreneurship and setting up the business so that his useful. His watching YouTube videos became useful and very much connected to his long-term vision. So Abdullah's guilt was killing. His guilt was creating the stress. Guilt of what? Guilt of is in a career that he did not want to be in. Guilt of spending YouTube 2 hours every day on YouTube and not doing something useful. And this was creating the stress level. When Abdullah started spending his time wisely, the stress level came down. Guys, the purpose of doing or sharing all these real life stories is to help you get some tiny bits of pieces here and there and to be able to make some relevance with your own life so that you can start changing your actions uh, differently. Do something differently. But one thing, remember in life does not change overnight. Life changes over a period of time. So people who are smart, they do one thing at a time. I repeat my words, one thing at a time, not too many things. We have seen people failing over and over again when they try to do multiple things at a time. So it's just like catching five rabbits. I recommend reading a book here, which is called Rafiq. Thank you for asking this question. Did Abdullah continue with the current career or change? Abdullah changed his career because he started talking about what he wanted based on his bachelor's. Mashallah, he finished his bachelor's and he was able to make the move into the IT department. He got a role related to IT, and mashallah, he's much happier than before. So, alhamdulillah. All right. So, guys, one change at a time. I recommend reading a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. Gary, not Keller, Keller. Gary Keller. The One Thing. Wonderful book to read. It helps you understand that if you have five rabbits running around in the room, you cannot catch all of them together. You need to catch one by one. Grab one, put him in a cage, and then go to the next one. Similarly, in life, when we try to bring about too many changes, we are not able to get hold of any one of them and we fail miserably. So one thing at a time. All right. So I would like to ask you, what is that one thing that you will do differently from after today's presentation? What is that one thing? If you would like to share in the chat window or open your mic and speak up. Anything? All right. Yeah, Wasila, thank you so much for sharing this book, The One Thing. And Wasila, if you can share all these in the WhatsApp groups as well, so people who are there, they can make higher benefit because greater benefit because once the meeting is over, the chat is lost. All right. So Tahir says we'll start creating timetable to-do list. Thank you so much for Tahir sharing this. Anyone else? Positive thinking. All right. Mariam Wasim says positive thinking. Or Ghania will have a clear picture of the day. Thank you so much. Imagine, Ghania, if your days become 25% better by having a clear picture of the day. Inshallah, when you reach 25%, then you'll be able to reach another 25%. Things change gradually, not overnight. Rafiq says, I will focus one thing at a time going forward, inshallah. Great. Thank you so much. I feel blessed and honored. Sleep early and plan the next day. All right. Hamza says, Zoya says, I will work on my passion with motivation. All right. Guys, we are here to make a positive difference in people's life. We are here to make people transform into a better version of themselves, move them to the next higher level. People, people, I would rather add one more word. Smart people. Smart people realize that if they are not able to walk alone, they need someone to hold their hand and then they can walk together. So smart people hire coaches. So if you have realized, conscious realization it takes, if you realize that you cannot walk alone, speak to some of our coaches, speak to them, and they are ready to help you, and they're ready to take you to your next higher level of personal and professional excellence. So this is where coaching is all about. It is not about uh, it is not about just talking and becoming better. It is also about creating executable and doable plans and then holding you accountable to move forward. So this is why all executives and all big CEOs of big companies, they have coaches on their back because they always need an outsider's perspective, and they know that coaches can help them become even better. So, guys, with this, I would like to ask you this question before we leave. This question: what was most touching in this session? Before you leave, what was most touching? So then this is my question. What was most touching? Anyone would like to share? All right, please do tell us about your new book. All right, the story is all right, Zoya. Thank you so much for this. The choice map, Vasila says the choice map, Asfar says focusing. All right, different use case you used. Asad Sayed, all right. I have all five parables. All right. All right. Now, some of the stories out of this you will find in my book. I can go and if you can give me a second, let me unshare my screen and let me go to Google and 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 tell you the book. The book is published at two places. One is Amazon. You can order it from Amazon.com, and one is I recently it has also been published in Pakistan and in a platform called Guftugu. So you can also go to Guftugu website and order the book. Let me just share my screen again. I'll show you my Google screen. So this is my Google screen. This is Amazon. So you go over here and you type here Beyond Coaching. It is a collection of 34 different stories, 17 from the corporate life and 17 from the personal life. And the last four stories in the personal life area belong to only one family. Last four stories, and you will find them very relevant, interesting, and challenging stories. This they belong to one single family that I happen to coach over a period of some time. All right, so this was in Amazon. You can order from Amazon. Now let me go to Guftugu. www. All right. Guftugu publication. Guftugu publication is based in Pakistan. So you go to Guftugu and then in Guftugu, you can again find the book here. If you see maybe Beyond, if I write here, Beyond Coaching. Beyond Coaching in Guftugu. All right. So this is the book. It looks different in Guftugu because of the copyrights. It is published as a second edition. And it is available in Guftugu, and you can order in Pakistan, and they can also ship here in Saudi Arabia. So the cost of the book is way less than Amazon. It's 750, and I think the charges for shipping will be very, very cheap. All right. So let's come back to the chat window. Tahir says examples you shared plus one linear advice and suggestion you shared during the stories presentation. All right. Asra says sometimes the change is required within ourselves. Yes, the biggest change is being able to say no to our devices, the devices that we love so much. All right. All right. So I think the time is up. We have still 5 minutes. If someone has some question. All right. Adil says, all right. Okay. Eh, hmm. All right. So let me tell you one more thing over here. Adil, I can ask your question separately if you wish. Let me share my presentation again. Give me a second. Here is the presentation. All right. So you can note down this email address and you can note down this phone number as well. And if you have any questions, if you would like to have one-to-one session, please write to us. If you have one-to-one coaching session, please write back to us, and any one of our coaches will get back to you, and you can speak to them directly. And if you have any questions, you can again also write at the same email address, and inshallah we will address your questions and concerns as soon as possible. All right. So someone says, can you share the book name again? All right. So if you're part of Mumkin alumni group, we'll share the book name, Hang on. Someone says we cannot see your screen. Please reshare. All right. Give me a second. Let me reshare my screen. All right. Let me take you to my Google screen again so that you can you can see the book. This is a book, Beyond Coaching. You can find this in Amazon, and you can also find this in Guftugu publications. You can note down the details over here. I can show you on Amazon as well. Go to Amazon, and this is the book, the way it looks like over here in Amazon. And this is the way it looks like in Guftugu. The name is same, Beyond Coaching. And you can type the entire word, Beyond Coaching, Recollections of a Coach. All right. So let's go back to our meeting. All right, guys. With this, I would like to say Assalamu alaikum to you, to everyone, for being here in this workshop. Inshallah, we intend to run this workshop once in a month. So it will be either me or other coaches like Umer Bhai or Brother Faisal or any one of our female coaches as well, inshallah. And inshallah, we will also resume our fortnightly majalis, Mumkin Majlis, which happens at the same time. And there will be, in fact, next week, next Saturday, at the same time, we have a majlis coming up by Coach Sumaya and Coach Hina. And inshallah, you will continue to see them with perpetuity. So thank you very much again being with us. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes this session beneficial for everyone around. Jazakallah khair for your presence. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.